All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome once again to the JNE Welding Combined Strength live streaming podcast. I am your host, Shane Sutcliffe, and I am joined today by my co-host, Shalon Okowski. As always, we want to start off by acknowledging that we are meeting today on Treaty 6 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis. Our show today will include a couple of brief project updates, and then we are going to be heading into a new segment called The People Who Power Us. The focus of this segment is to bring the real stories of some of our JNE team members to the forefront of our organization. And today's will be focused on one of our lead hands, Saks Senyotkham. Funny note, I actually asked Saks how to pronounce his last name and then promptly forgot it about 30 seconds later while we were recording this and mispronounced it the second time. So I just want to get that out front so everyone knows I'm aware that I made that mistake, and I apologize, Saks. All right, and before we begin, I'd like to pass it back over to Shalon for a safety talk moment, as we always like to. Shalon, could you start us off with a quick safety moment?
Sure. Thank you, Shane. So here at JNE Welding, safety is not just what we do at work, but it is a way of life, as it should be. And so as life goes, we're coming up here on a big holiday, Thanksgiving holiday season. And so let's talk about a few safety-related tips over the Thanksgiving holiday. So 3 things to watch out for: fire, food, and travel. So fire, you're doing lots of cooking, so never leave your stove unattended, never leave the house with a turkey in the oven, that type of thing. Candles, don't leave your pumpkin spice candles burning unattended. And the outdoor deep fryers, if you have a crazy Uncle Mike who wants to deep fry a turkey this year, just don't leave him unattended out back in the backyard there. So, and then food. So food, there's always a possibility of a choking hazard, food poisoning, of course, that questionable green jellied salad that nobody knows what it is. Yeah, maybe watch out for that one too. And then, of course, cuts and burns during your food prep. So just be careful with that stuff. And of course, travel. Lots of people travel to loved ones near and far. And so car accidents, distracted and impaired driving, lots of stuff to watch out for there. So wherever you're headed this holiday season, enjoy it with your family and friends and enjoy good food and laughter.
That was great. Thanks, Sean. That's a great safe talk. And I hope I'm not jinxing it here, but I'm pretty sure the 4-letter word that we all hate to speak this time of year is going to stay out of the forecast for at least a few more weeks. I do believe the last I heard we're looking at, that 4-letter word, the one starting with S and ending in W.
I was thinking about the 5-letter word that we hate. I was okay, we won't go there. Anyway.
Yeah, no, snow. Clear this up. Snow, that's the word I was looking at.
Sorry.
The forecast looks to be pretty good. I believe we're looking at another couple of weeks of 20+ degree weather was last I heard. So with any luck, those travel plans for Thanksgiving, like you said, weather shouldn't be an issue.
Right on.
Awesome. All right. And with that, we are going to quickly move into the project updates. We just have a couple to highlight this month. As we mentioned, we want to put the focus on this People Who Power Us segment. But we will start off with one that went through our 56th Street location not too long ago and kind of went through the rest of the facilities as well for some other work. This is a soft drop fabrication that we recently built for our partners in the potash industry. Now, for the people that are listening in, this is unfortunately one that you really have to see. Like, a picture does paint 1,000 words in this instance. For those that are watching, I'm sure they've got some questions around what exactly it is we're looking at here. The best way to describe this thing, I would call it like a child's dream slide, I guess is one way to look at it. Yeah. What you're seeing on the screen, and again, for those that are just listening in, I would highly recommend you take a chance to look at some pictures that's on our website when it gets posted. This is a stainless steel helix that's wrapped around, I believe that's about a 16-inch diameter pipe, possibly larger. Correct me on that if I'm wrong. And essentially, this is just a way of slowing product down so that it's not free falling from one point to another. It is for potash. I don't know exactly at which stage in the process this comes into play, so I'm not sure if it's the raw ore stage or somewhere in the processing side of things. But again, essentially, all this is serving is to take product from point A to point B slower than it would be if it just fell through the air. And in terms of how you fabricate this, now this is the really cool part. We looked for sub-vendors to work with us on this one to get the forming and the supply of materials outsourced just to face, we were facing some shop constraints at the time. We could not find anybody in the research that we did. Dennis Perry, again, Dennis comes up a lot on these projects. He was the project manager that took this one on, and he in all his searching, could not find someone that was willing to take on this work and produce these segments. And it speaks a lot to our fabrication process and just the overall tenacity, I would say, of our people when you can see something like this as the end result. Our forming department had a huge role to play in this job. They were essentially the main reason we were able to pull this off. So Paul Crabtree, our press brake operator, took individual segments and ran them through a custom built jig that we used on our press brake, and Shallon's highlighting some pictures of that here. And basically through a process of trial and error and some, I'm going to call it deductive reasoning, we figured out a way to form these things in our press brake when ultimately a lot of people said it really couldn't be done. So the end result was we were able to fabricate the screw of the soft drop in multiple segments that our fabricating team then took, and through no small effort, were able to fit and prod and pull and persuade into position on that pipe, and ultimately were able to fit it up and weld it, as you could see in the previous picture. So again, just the points to really highlight on this one were just the sheer complexity of the fabrication parts, I should say. The part fabrication was the real complex part of this project. Not to diminish the amount of work that went into fitting, but the pitch on these things, and if anyone knows screw conveyors, augers, however you look at it, the pitch is basically a measurement of a linear distance that one rotation of the screw travels in. And if I'm speaking from memory, but I believe the pitch on this instance was 10 feet or greater. So one rotation of that screw took 10 lineal feet to complete. So that gives you kind of an idea of how aggressive these segments are. So again, yeah, very complicated parts process, very complicated fitting and welding process following that. But again, another excellent example of combined strength of multiple departments working together. Our detailing department had a lot of work to do on this one in terms of modeling and developing the part profiles so that we could actually turn those into something we could cut and form. As I mentioned, our parts department, lots of work out of those guys. Fabricators, welders, pretty much everybody on the team at JNE had a hand in this one. And I think it turned out really well.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from you is a lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into this
Absolutely.
one.
That's the easiest way to sum up that whole spiel I just said. This was fun to watch. I'm sure it wasn't as fun for the people that were actually building it, if I'm being totally honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's accurate.
Awesome. All right. I think that's enough said on that guy. Like I said, if you want to see more of that, please check out our website in the future and our LinkedIn and Facebook pages. I'm sure we'll find pictures of this somewhere on there. The next one we're going to go to, let's go back to Shallon, and we are going to talk about a reclaimer project. So Shallon, please take this away.
Yes, so we started talking about this project during the design process back in February. I think we shared a little bit on some early podcast episodes and website updates. And so we were challenged to figure out how to replace an existing similar structure with a unit that was made of lighter material while increasing the capacity, the load capacity. And so we worked with our partners from Croatia Industry, SSAB, and Cova Engineering to figure that out. And so now, well, actually, you know what, let's take a step back, as I always need to ask and have this a very, very high level. What is a reclaimer? So I asked these questions. Yeah, so I asked these questions of our project managers. And so essentially what we're looking at here is a 3D rendering of a bridge-like structure with 2 drive trams on the bottom of either end that actually help the structure travel the entire length of the building that it's stored in. And it's kind of like a big barn building. And it's actually where they store the finished potash product. And so what happens here is there's 2 arm structures underneath the bridge that actually come down. They pick up the potash, and then they use conveyance systems to bring that potash out of the storage building and out to load out to train cars or trucks, that type of thing. So at a very high level, that's what I learned this structure that we're looking at is. And so fabrication is now well underway in our shops, which is very exciting to see. Actually, the drive trams were finished quite a few months ago, and they're down the road at Parc de Rocher for some final touches. But right now we have in our shops the leg sections. And so this, the picture on the right here is of the outer wall of one of the leg sections, and that's in our Big B shop. I can't remember off the top of my head how long that shop is, but the length of it fills half the shop. So it's quite an impressive structure. And then the other photo that we're looking at here is the knuckle. And there's actually like a welder, a person inside of this thing. I don't know, Shane, maybe you can guess as to what he's doing a little bit better than I can, but just the sheer size of it, like that's the knuckle where that leg structure connects down to the drive trams. So you can imagine how large this structure is going to be once it's all finished. So it's been pretty cool to see it all come together, because I've wandered through the shops and I've seen these individual pieces, and I think, I wonder what that is. And then I don't know, weeks, months later, you start seeing them all being fit together and put together, and it's pretty impressive. And but with that, this has certainly been an all hands on deck kind of project as well, because
Absolutely.
the gantry body as well as the side panels for the leg assemblies are being built at our 56th Street location. And then the full leg assemblies are being fabricated and put together in our Big B shop. And then these knuckles are coming together in our A shop right now as well. So literally every one of our facilities is kind of working on this project in some capacity or another. And it's just been really interesting to watch it come together. And we'll certainly share a little bit more once we get closer to the end of the project, because it's going to be a really neat process as to how they actually install this as well. So you have that to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so cool. That is an incredibly unique project. And like you said, too, it's really neat to see projects that span the whole company and then come together kind of as a final assembly, or however you want to look at it, in one of our larger shops. And I sat in on a couple of our morning production meetings, and this project has been mentioned quite a few times. As you kind of discussed, it's, hitting all the shops. And just the planning that's going into how this thing is being staged and assembled, like you said, you look at the photographs and you look at what it is on the shop floor, it doesn't look overly complicated, because it's just some fairly straight sections, some stiffener plates, a couple of openings. I got to say, that weld that you pointed out, the fellow in this picture doing, that's a tricky one. That's like an overhead vertical all in the same go there. So that's definitely a good example of a tricky fabrication.
Yeah.
But when you start talking about exactly what you mentioned, the final assemblance of this item, I do believe, from what I've heard in the production meetings, and somebody can correct me unless I'm wrong, ultimately when this thing's set to a point where we need to start rotating it to access the other points for fabrication, it's too large and too cumbersome to rotate even inside our B shop, which has 120 tons of crane capacity and 40 something feet of hook clearance. So there's going to be mobile cranes involved in this to take the thing out of the shop, do a rotation, and then bring it back in. So It's definitely a significant size and scale project. And like you said, when it all goes together, it's going to be quite the sight to see.
Yeah.
It's a really cool project.
Yeah, just the material that we're using as well. Like I said, we needed to figure out how to um, use less weight while increasing the lift capacity and movement capacity on this thing. So you can actually kind of see the writing on some of the material here. It's called strengths, and it's a line from our SSAB partners that does exactly that. And even just again, you can correct me here, Shane, but just the welding and fabricating processes that go with that material are a little bit different and a little bit challenging,
Yes.
and we had to figure that out, right? So
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct. It's a higher tensile strength plate, so there's definitely different processes and different techniques that have to be utilized compared to when we're just welding standard mild steel components together. And that's a really good point you make, Sean, about that's another a perfect example of combined strength. Keep coming back to the title of the podcast and our company motto here, working with partners like SSAB to bring innovative solutions like this to market, lighter weight, higher capacity. That's something that a lot of our clients look for in these builds.
for sure.
No, that's an absolutely really amazing project, and I'm excited to see how that shakes out and how it finishes.
Absolutely.
Great. All right. Well, as I mentioned at the start of the show, we have a new segment called The People Who Power Us. And again, the aim of this program is to shed some light on the paths that brought some of our employees to JNE, why they come to work every day, and how they've contributed to and become part of our combined strength culture. So please, at this time, I'd ask you to just sit back, enjoy. You don't have to listen to us talk anymore. This is about a 40-minute long video. And please enjoy this little look at the life of one of our lead hands, Saks Senyotkham. And give me just 2 seconds here to make sure that I get this all correctly done. far as how he came to work at JNE and what it is he does and what he enjoys about his job. So, Saks, let's just start off. Can you tell us a bit about your life? What led you to working at JNE Welding?
Okay.
Was it a fairly straightforward path, or did it have a lot of twists and turns? How did that
It
go?
was pretty straight path, but there was some bumps in the road, I guess. Grew up with a dad who welded. He had welded at Flexico at the time. It became CNH now. And after high school, I didn't know what I was going to do yet. So he was like, well, you can't live here and not either go to school or work.
That old story.
So every weekend, he's like, come with me. I'm going to show you some trades work. And then, he taught me how to weld.
Nice.
And I practiced every weekend until I graduated on Saturday, the ceremony, and I worked on a Monday.
Wow.
Wow.
And I was still 17 years old at the time.
Jump right in.
So he already had me lined up for a job because he knew everyone at the time. He was probably the first 30th person to work with him.
Oh, really?
So
wow.
he's in there since 81. I
Oh,
think,
wow.
And he
wow.
retired there. So
Yeah.
after that many years, he retired, I think, 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So he started there and ended there, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's where I kind of picked up welding. I really enjoyed it. Got the production side of it and the quality side.
Mm-hmm.
I did that for 2 years at CNH, or Flexicoil at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wanted to pursue something in healthcare. So I was into sports most of my life, so I ended up taking massage therapy.
All right.
So
I
I
didn't
went to
know that.
massage therapy school for a couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
graduated from there, and I got a job on a cruise ship and worked overseas for a couple of years. And then
Okay, can we just stop right
Yeah,
here?
I was gonna say,
this is
yeah.
why we're doing this. Is
Yeah.
because like who would have known? We see each other on the shop floor every day, whatever. But like, unless you like, this is wild already. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep going.
I'd like to just expand on that. I'm curious. How do you go from welding
Yeah.
to massage therapy on a cruise ship? Like, what was the process that led to that jump? Like, how did that
that jump
transition?
was when back to my parents.
Mhm.
They were hardworking.
Yeah.
My dad was always like, "Man, I'm sore. My back's always sore. Can you step on my back?" And as a kid, I was always like, "Yeah, sure, I'll step on your back." And then, "Oh, can you massage mom's shoulders?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll massage mom's shoulders." Like, then she was like, "Hey, this is pretty good. You do a good job." And I was like, "Okay, yeah." So I put that aside. Like, I've been doing it since I was a kid for them, as somebody to relieve them of this stress, right? And then that never got brought up until later on, because I was into sports and I've also had injuries and pains, and I was like,
Right.
man, that's something that I could kind of relate to. So when I was still welding, a friend of mine was like, there's a school for massage therapy which deals with the body aches and pains. And I'm just like, wow, this is really relatable to something that I would like to do. Like, my parents always asked me to massage them, and I was into sports, so I'd always be like, massaging my own leg or whatever, the stretches, doing exercises. So it's like, I just thought, wow, this is a good opportunity. This is what I want to do, And I have a friend that wants to do this, like she wants to go to school with.
Yeah.
So we both applied, and there it is. I told my parents, like, okay, I'm good with welding. I made some money and, killed some time for you guys for me to figure out what I want to do.
Yeah.
And so I went and did that, and that's what led me to that. And,
That's pretty cool.
Wow.
and how I got back is, unfortunately, 9/11 happened back when. And I was on the ship at the time.
Okay.
And it was hard to get home because of visas and
Everything was shut
whatnot,
down.
and everything, borders were shut down. So
Yeah.
my parents called me and were like, well, we want you to come home. We don't know what's happening right now with the world and how you're going to get back home. So that's why, I kind of finished my contract, and I said, well, I might not be coming back. My mom was like, nah, it's too risky right now. Things are going a little bit, crazy in the world, and we want you to stick around home. And I was like, okay. Stuck around home, and then I'm like, well, I try to get a massage therapy job at a nearby clinic and a spa, and I wasn't getting very many clients because at that time, a male massage therapist was very like taboo
Out of the ordinary.
in a way.
Yeah.
It was like
Yeah.
kind of like out
Wasn't
of the
what you were
ordinary. It wasn't-
expecting.
People weren't comfortable with it, and I wasn't making much money to survive. So I did live with my parents for a bit, but then I moved out on my own, and I was just like, I got to find something more stable. So I went back and I got a job at a weld shop in Sutherland, and it was called Precision Metal, and it was a production shop as well. I worked there for actually 4 years, and they actually sold to Depker. You probably heard of Depker
Oh, yeah.
Trailers.
Yeah, Dr. Trailers.
And
Yeah.
then they sold at that time. They let people go.
And we're back. Sorry, minor technical difficulties. This guy forgot to hit a certain switch on the camera, so it shut off in the middle of the recording.
Yeah.
Saks, back to you. We were just
Yeah.
discussing your time at Doppker and how that kind of played
Well,
out.
So they laid me off. So I was on EI for maybe 5 weeks, and I was just looking through the telephone book, like, where do I go from here? Where can I go and weld? And I applied at so many different places. I tried to apply back at CNH, and they were like, well, we're not hiring at the moment. We'll call you when we do. And JNE came up. I put in my resume. All of a sudden, I got a call from one of the superintendents, but I think it was Lloyd Graytrix at the time.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, we'd like you to come in. You look like you have some experience. And I was like, sure, So I came in, and he asked me to do a weld test. And he was actually like, he was so quiet. I was like, is everything okay? He's like, I haven't seen a welder for a while do a weld test this good. And I was like, oh, serious? I'm like, thanks. Like, I work on it, but I think it's because of my production welding, And he asked me, when can you start?
Wow.
And from then on, I started like almost 17 years next month.
Wow.
Wow.
That's huge.
17 years ago next month.
Wow. Yeah. Congratulations on that. That in itself
Yeah.
is amazing. So just going back though, so your dad first got you into welding. So you never went to school for welding?
Never. My dad
Wow.
was my teacher.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's a really
and
cool story.
I've always worked hard at everything I did.
Yeah.
Like sports, whatever it was, even massage therapy.
Yeah. You set out to become a master.
Always was that person to do something that,
Yeah.
like whatever I put my mind to,
You're
I
going to
always
dedicate
wanted
yourself to it.
dedicate myself. I wanted to be good at whatever I did because
Right.
my parents were always brought me up from that,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so they worked hard all their life, and I just wanted to continue that as well.
Wow.
That's
Cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
One more point, going back to your previous life before we continue on with JNE and your story since in the last 17 years. Working on a cruise ship, outside of course, being on the cruise ship during 9/11, you got to have some good stories.
There was a lot of pretty good stories. At the time, Regis and Kathy Lee had a show live with Regis and Kathy Lee. He actually was on our cruise ship, and I actually met him. But I wasn't one to be asked to massage him, and he did massage one of my coworkers, which was an awesome story because he didn't. A lot of people didn't know who he was because a lot of us came from all over the world, but Canadians know everything about Americans, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we knew that what show he is, and everybody was kind of starstruck. Where all the Europeans were like, "Who's this short little old guy?" Like we're like, "You don't know who that guy is?" Like that's a very famous person,
Right.
So he was exercising in the gym one day, and I just came across, and I just said, I have to do it. I have to ask this guy for his autograph or whatever. And I just told him my mom loved you because she watches her show, and he's just all happy.
Somebody's probably heard a few times.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was one of the cool stories. And obviously, there's being young and adventurous. You go on to different excursions and stuff like that. So you're always doing crazy snorkeling trips or jeep trips or zip lining, and this is weekly. This is because we get
This is your life. This is what you get paid to do.
this is two days out of the week we get to go offshore and
That's awesome.
live a crazy life. So I did that for a couple of years.
So you're like 19, 20-ish.
I was 21,
21,
22.
okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Perfect time for
Yeah,
it.
perfect
No doubt.
time, and I really had a great time. meeting everyone and just being on your own, not knowing a single soul, and kind of living off of who you are, what your parents have taught you, and your family and friends, you know. So it seemed like I did well, and I was very sad to leave the team, but they were very emotional too, and obviously I still have friends to this day that I talk to from then. Yeah. So,
That's really cool.
yeah.
Very cool story.
Yeah.
So to wrap that all up, so lots happened. Fast forward, you started at JNE 17 years ago next month, if I'm not mistaken, right? Kind of give us a little bit of a chronicle of your time at JNE. Like, how did you move through the company? What have you done in the time you've been here? And then we'll get into a little bit more after that, obviously. But just give us kind of a breakdown of how you've spent your time here so far.
So I worked under Bob Redicop, who was my supervisor at 56th Street. I was with him for the first 2 months, and we just worked obviously on smaller projects at the time as well, a lot of structural projects. We did some pipe shoes, and I pretty much welded one out. And one day, your dad, Jim, came by, and he's like, "Who welded this?" And I was like, and then they pointed over to me, and then he slowly came out and was like, "Your welds look amazing, you know, like, thank you for, you know, being a part of our team." And I was just like, well, thank you for recognizing that. Like, and maybe a couple weeks later, Bob Redicop came to me. He's like, "Well, we have to move you on to plate work, like vessels. And so we're going to get you to work with Bob Simpson and the A crew," I guess they were called, the A team.
The A team.
It was Erwin, it was Benny, it was Jose, it was Curtis Esquirrel. It was all these big name established journeymen, right? Like, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't even have any education yet. I'm this guy who's supposed to work with them, and very intimidating. But,
for sure.
Learned so much with them. Like, they actually treated me like a younger brother, and they took me under their wings, and they showed me their ways and how they wanted things, and just hard work. And yeah, from then on, we JNE bought Thatcher, and the building was slowly getting put together. And when we first came over to Thatcher, there was no doors in B shop. There was no welders, there was no tools, there was nothing. So we slowly moved from the coverall, all the welders, all the tools and equipment, and it was very scrappy looking. It wasn't organized yet, so we still had
early days.
We still had work. We were working in there, but everything was still so scattered, and that's where you see slowly some old remnants of old where that used to be, and, like, you know, shadow boards, they weren't there before, and now they are, and there used to be a drill press in there, and things slowly started changing, and then tool rooms got organized, and I worked with Bob Simpson probably for 12 years, I believe.
Wow.
And we had some major projects in there, like obviously the first crystallizer, the very first crystallizer was a huge project. Like, it was very significant all over the prairie provinces.
Like, well, it was, right? Because I mean, and that was part of the reason for the move too, right? Was just because JNE had expanded at 56th Street kind of to the seams, right? And then we come over here, we build B shop, and that was the reason, so that we could build these bigger things that would otherwise be coming outside of the province, right? So that was like a big kind of moment in industry for Saskatchewan too.
It was a big challenge, and I'm glad I was a part of that. Like, it's so many lessons learned, so many ideas, and so many, how do you say, even coming together as one and working alongside each other and figuring it out together. You know, it wasn't just B shop, it was A shop as well. It was night shifts, and it was accumulation of everyone, and it was a big effort. Other jobs were like pump boxes. Pump boxes were like a young, strong man's job. It was like, I'm glad I came in as a 27, 28-year-old guy, because I still had that, like, let's go, you know? A bit now, it's a little bit slower, but it taught me you have to stay fit. You have you have to keep up with your health and take care of yourself, and even mentally, right? You have to stay focused because you're working with larger fabrications. There's more hazards. There's more things that can go wrong. Just the size of it, just the heights, the lengths of these things, the tight spaces you have to go into, and so there's a lot.
Sounds like you were probably pretty well set up to know what to watch for too, with your background in sports and physical therapy and the right. So you probably knew how to. I can remember you and I, because when I started, you were still working in B, and you were basically my mentor for like the first couple of months I was there. You remember that super pot?
Yes.
You worked on? You remember those nozzles that were on an angle like this, and we had to like slide in and like. I still have days where I'm like, man, how did my back take that? And how did Saks's back take that?
And we look at each other and we're like, we're two pretty big guys. Like,
well, yeah.
We got put into this, but...
I've gotten a bit bigger since then, too. And, thinking back now, it's like...
So have I. Well, no, I did.
Yeah.
No, it's true.
yeah, what are we talking about, right? As thin as we ever were.
Yeah.
No, that's amazing, Saks. Like, that's quite a chronicle when you think about it of your time at JNE. And, everything you were just describing, the transition from building the Thatcher location, getting Shop B put together, that's our motto, combined strength, right? Like everything you just described was everyone working together and towing that line to reach the end result that we have today, right?
Yeah, and I preach that like every day. Like in my daily morning meetings and huddles, I always say, everyone, let's work together, help each other out.
Absolutely.
We're not here by ourselves.
Yeah.
Right.
We need each other. I need you, you need me. We have to watch out for each other because things happen so quickly. If you don't see it from the outside in, you'll miss it.
Absolutely.
And something will happen just as quick, and then we could have dealt with it probably better,
Yeah.
But I'm glad that we have each other's backs. And
Absolutely.
No doubt. It's kind of interesting because, you think about welding and metal fabrication and it seems all rough and tumble, right? But truly there is this bond between you guys because
family.
You are watching out for each other's backs. Like you said, there's
Yeah.
big stuff going on. If you are not focused for a second, like and it's not even just yourself, it's everyone you're working with. Like something can
Everyone you're
happen so
working with.
fast. So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool to hear.
Yeah, it's important. I think it's camaraderie. You care about each other because you see each other most of your day. You become a family.
Your work family.
Yeah, when people get moved around, you're like, he's got to go, or like,
Yeah.
he's coming back. Like like when I just came here, like everyone is like, what are you
doing here?
You're coming back? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Not quite, but I'm always around.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, you know what? That kind of transitions into another topic we could talk about here. Your current role is a lead hand. Refresh my memory. How long have you been in that role now? I can't quite remember when you.
It was
switched
after
over.
I got my journey person ticket.
Right.
I think it was 2014.
Right.
Oh, wow.
So decent few years now.
So when I first got my journey persons, I was thinking of an opportunity to be a lead, but there wasn't one open. But I think Benny had stepped down from his supervisor role, and he became QA. And then George stepped into his supervisor role at night shift. So that opened up, and that was my opportunity to take that. And
Right.
I actually applied for it and interviewed well, and they hired me onto that. And I worked night shift for, I think, 2.5 years.
That's right. Yeah.
So I know everyone on nights as well. So,
Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
Saks just, I think the thing to take away from this is Saks knows everybody at JNE pretty much. Like, if you haven't heard of Saks, you probably haven't worked here for longer than a couple of weeks.
Right. And that kind of speaks to, I know Max had mentioned, night shift is kind of a way to progress your career
Yeah.
real quick. So if you have that opportunity, that was smart to jump in there and be able to build some leadership there.
Yeah.
And that goes back to what you were saying too before about that drive and that determination, that dedication, right? That's, I call a spade a spade. I can't do night shift. I've talked about that with a couple other people. I've done it before. Not my favorite part of my life, that's for sure.
No.
So kudos to everyone that does that.
Yeah,
and you guys.
I want to give kudos to those guys.
Yeah.
They've been doing that for quite a long time,
Yeah.
and they haven't even came off nights
Yeah.
since I've been here.
Yeah.
Like their kids have grown from their parents being on night shift, you know, which is also hard on their families, but it's
sure.
also very important that give it up for their parents to do that.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
not an
It's
easy
a
thing.
family
It's a
sacrifice
family
too, right?
sacrifice too.
Yeah.
And all those guys are amazing. Like I
Mm-hmm.
learned so much from them as well.
Yeah.
Very family oriented guys. They became my brothers. The day I did transfer it back to day shift, and I'm sure there's some tears that were shed from both sides. Like I do miss that crew, like
Yeah.
that group. If you guys don't know, I'm from Laos and Thailand. They are Filipino, so I was also not speaking their language. So I was also, very quiet at the first, but then they also taught me different wording or different things and their culture, and it was really
That's cool.
awesome to
Yeah.
be a part of.
That's
Right on.
awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Just a quick question, I guess, going back to when you got your journey person status. So without going through school, you put in the hours and did you just
I did
challenge the
apprenticeship.
exam?
Actually, I did
apprenticed.
apprentice.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
I
yeah.
wanted to go. I knew I could have probably challenged because people are like, well, with the experience you have, you could probably challenge. And I was like, yes, but I also wanted to go the route, there's no right or wrong route. But to me, that route had to be from year 1, year 2, year 3. You know,
You want to put
I wanted to put it in because, like you said, I'm one of those guys who didn't want to miss anything out and didn't want to cut the line and be like, yeah, I'm this guy. You know, like no, I wanted to be in there with the younger guys and be one of the older guys in the class, which is fine. You know, like they actually treated me as a mentor as well at school. I was also helping do demos at school because they knew I had worked at JNE, who has done many different types of welding, many different types of modes of machinery, equipment,
Yeah.
like gouging,
lots of real world
lots
experience.
of real world experience,
Yeah, for sure.
and they're actually grateful that I was in their class too, because they learned a lot from me, and of course I learned a lot from them too.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
Really cool.
that's awesome.
So I guess this kind of plays off of that too. So just thinking about school and new people coming out of school, if you had one or two pieces of advice for new employees entering the welding trade or fabrication trade, what would that be?
Well, first you have to be positive. I mean, yeah, you have to know that it's never easy being new, and be open to new things, new challenges. Be strong. I mean, it's not something very easy that you can just come into. Not everybody's going to be the nice, librarian or whatever it is. People are going to be hard on you, but take it with a grain of salt. People, whoever has worked in this industry, are a little bit tough and gruff. But guys like me who've been through that am trying to change that a little bit. I don't need to be tough and gruff. I can be this friendly, funny guy and welcoming, and that's something to look forward to. But yeah, and just be open, work hard, learn, focus, stay focused. I think they'll get there when they just stick to it. You know what I mean? Don't give up. I mean, some days I'm sure that's hard. It's not an easy industry. Like, it's not an easy industry. It's not something that is just lackadaisical. You actually have to put some effort into it.
Yeah.
And I think more and more we need that for our future to be strong in what you do. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you're certainly a great example of kind of what growing up in the company looks like, and progressing through and being a great leader as well for JNE.
I'm trying. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I'm learning every day.
Absolutely. Still.
Yeah.
Right on.
That's the biggest thing,
Yeah.
right? Continually learning, right?
You continue. Yeah.
So, tell us. We've talked a lot about your background, your history, kind of what you've done in the trade. Tell us something specific to your time at JNE that you're really proud of. It can be a project that you were involved in that you were really happy with the end result, a process that you helped refine. It could be an incident you prevented. I mean, we do our best to make sure that we prevent all incidents as much as possible, obviously. But obviously that comes from you guys on the floor. That's not just a process that happens. That only happens because you guys identify the hazards and work. So if you had to just pick one bullet point of your career and your time at JNE and said that this is like my crowning achievement, and maybe I'm putting you on the spot, but figured that was something that you.
It was part of the first crystallizer, actually.
Yeah.
Bob Simpson had you know, there's different components to it. And he was like, well, I don't have another lead. Who can I put this as a lead as on this project? There was Darren, there was Danny, and then he looked towards me and he's like, do you think you can try, as I'm starting to grow into a mentor, he's like, I want you to try to lead this section of this crystallizer for me in A shop. So I took that on, and I was like kind of very obviously, like, this is my first, like, I'm the guy now, like, you know, they're asking me for everything. Where's the parts, what materials, what's the procedures you need, and so on and so forth. And I took it on, and they gave me a couple guys from A shop, a couple Ukrainian guys that were, you know, very talented. Night shift also helped with Jose and his team. And Jose being, because I worked with him previously, we have a good rapport.
Right.
So anything that I had to give to night shift, they would definitely do, and vice versa. He would come and tell me what I should do, like, you know, give me hints and information, and maybe guide me as well, because I wasn't, you know, obviously I'm still new to it. And it turned out very well. It was actually the end nose, I guess. It was I don't know what section it was, but it was the one that stuck out. It was that section, and it turned out really, like, all the dimensions were awesome. The welding didn't fail. Everything it came out like almost like pretty good. Like, it fit.
You're dancing around the word perfect.
Well, almost perfect. It almost was perfect.
Feel free to say it, man. Yeah.
And that was my proud moment. And all the guys in A shop were very proud, because sometimes the smaller shops get put aside because the big shop is the shiny guy, but it's the smaller guys that actually help the big guys too. And so that made me proud that I helped A shop get their recognition as well, you know.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
everyone got a pat on the back. I know that job, I actually got one of the 10 jackets that were given to, because we're asked to who worked on this the most. Like,
right.
I was there like almost 24/7. Like, on the weekends I was there. I was like, so
Long days.
that was long days. It was, but I was happy to be recognized as one of those guys who put in the time and effort. And that was one of my, you know, and then that set me off to know I can do this. I can help lead. I can lead a job. And then that's when I knew I kind of was like, started mentoring it, like, in the shop.
Right.
Then they had the mentor program, and I signed up for that, and that's from then on. I just slowly, was always the big brother to the younger guys.
Yeah.
Like, always. Awesome. You can tell when you probably met me too.
Yeah,
you were like,
absolutely.
well, this is the guy. Yeah, he seems like very approachable and helpful, and wants to teach and help. And I'm also a very humble guy. Like, if I'm made a mistake or something, or I ask you, you have a lot of experience in other things that I don't know, and I can learn off you just as much as you can learn off me.
Exactly.
You know? It makes me a stronger leader. You know?
Absolutely, it does. Yeah. That's a really good point, though. Sometimes just like biting off more than you think you can chew, and then proving to yourself that you can do that. Yeah. That was probably a huge, like, defining moment in your career, right? Because you proved to yourself that you could take on that role.
I was scared, but when I got asked to do it, I was like, oh, can I do this?
Yeah.
And then I always thought of who I am, actually. I'm going to try to do it.
Right.
I'm going to try my best to do it, you know. And then whatever I showed it came, you know, and stuck to it.
That's phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing, Saks.
I mean, there's
So-
many other little things, but that was one of my main things.
I'm sensing a trend here. Like, most of your points that you've pointed out is kind of like the highlights of your career and the stuff you're proud of. It centers around leadership.
Yeah.
From what I've been hearing from you.
Yeah.
Would you say that opportunity to lead on that portion of that crystallizer project, did that kind of ignite the fire, so to speak, that pushed you to go down the path of wanting to pursue a lead hand role? And where do you see yourself going in your career? Like, do you want to continue in supervision?
Yeah, I mean, supervision would be phenomenal. I mean, eventually, as far as I can, like, if I find out that I want to go into even estimating, you know, whatever, because I know more about the projects, more time, you know, timetables and costs and whatnot, you know, like that would be something that I could take a look from afar and I go, I know what that that would cost, what it takes to build that.
Very cool.
Did you hear that, Adam?
Yeah. Take notes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
Don't take too long. No, just kidding. Just kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
No, one step at a time.
Right.
Yeah. I think I enjoy what I'm doing at the moment too, because I did work over at Thatcher and I just got switched over this new year to be, the main focus was me to be the mentor of the new hires, which is new students who came straight from school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they need mentorship, that's for sure.
There's about 8 of them, right?
Yeah.
8 of them all at once.
Yes. Yeah, that was a big job.
That was a big job, and I mean, I had a lot of patience, and I'm glad I got put there to do that, because it makes. I was there, you know.
Yeah.
I know how it feels.
Yeah.
Like it's scary.
Yeah. Well, I think you're certainly a good person to be in that role, because you are so patient and you do have that humility about you. And I think that you're going to be that person in a lot of people's career that was there for them, and that was that big brother for them. So
I hope so.
Kudos to you for doing that, because that's a ton of work.
It's not easy, but I enjoy it. I really do. When I see them improving and them succeeding, that's like more. It's so grateful.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like awesome. Like, you know, I'm passing on what I know and what I want, where I want them to, like, where I want to see them. I always told them, I want you to be better than me, you know, and you're going to teach me. And later on in my career, I'm going to look back and be like, yeah, I remember that. I remember, you know, being a part of your development, you know?
Yeah.
I'm terrible with quotes, so I couldn't pretend to remember where I read it or where I heard it, but I do remember a quote saying that a true leader aspires to create more leaders. And I believe that you embody that for sure, Saks. You know, it's definitely a characteristic that I've come to know of you as a person and in our time that we worked together. And I really don't think, you know, as far as new hires into the company goes, you know, there's not many other options I would say are a better pick to say as far as mentorship goes. So we do really appreciate that. And, you know, it's very important to the organization and everyone that works here, obviously. So.
Well, even with me and you, like, I'm actually very proud of where you've ended up.
Oh, thank you.
Know what
I appreciate
like
that.
You worked your way up as well as my mentoring you to be a lead hand, and then eventually to being a project manager. And you're doing.
It's had a lasting impression, I can tell you that much.
Yeah,
Thank
like
you.
I think that's why we get along from that day one. We're like the early brothers of each other, you know. And then when we see each other, we're always like, Shane,
you know, it's
Saks. Like, it's just like,
I don't want to talk too much about myself, but you know, it's funny you mentioned that, because I was on a podcast with Max Saron from the Canadian Welding Bureau Association, and I was telling him my stories of like my first day walking into Shop B when I started here. And I mean, you kind of know my background, but I was working in a coal mine in northern BC doing like really scabby welding before I came here. So intimidating is definitely the word I would use to describe the first day walking through those doors and seeing that shop. Having somebody like you there to break it in made the process much more comfortable. I can tell you that. That's for sure. And I really appreciate you for that. Thank you, Saks.
yeah, you're welcome. Yeah.
So I don't have a whole lot more that I was going to ask you. I do have one question that I kind of wanted to ask you that I was hoping to do earlier in the script, but I missed it. We've talked a lot about your career, your time prior to JNE, what got you to the point you're at. Let's learn a little more about you, though. So, like, outside of work, what's something that you're passionate about? What's something that you really get engaged with, and something that really you devote a lot of your time and attention to that's not part of what you do at work?
I physical fitness.
Yeah.
I like going to the gym. I like working out, staying active as much as I can. As you get older, it's obviously less, and just getting out there and enjoying, you know, family and friends. And, I have nieces and nephews, and just seeing them grow. And also my daughter. I have a daughter that's in college, and she's in art school right now.
Wow.
In Kelowna, and she was one of my main, you know, motivations to work hard and lead, and show her that, you know, Dad can go back to school after being an older guy, and I can succeed no matter what. You can always put your mind to it. You can do it, you know. And like outside of work, I'm pretty an average type guy. Like I like to laugh and joke, and, you know, you guys know that of me. I'm always like, can be very candid with things, but I mean, real is real with me, and it's fine. Like I enjoy that, and I think being joyful and funny and positive is huge in our industry.
absolutely.
You know, because there's a lot of not negativity, but there can be. There's a lot of a lot of aggression or whatever.
Not even
you
just
wanna
our
call
industry,
it.
our world in
Our
general
world
these
in
days.
general, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
We need as many
yeah.
funny and enjoyable
Yeah.
people as we can these days.
So
that's for
like
sure.
I mean the same thing. I lead outside of work as well.
Yeah.
Like, I lead my niece and nephew, like being good people, right?
Mhm.
Like my friends too. We always put each other accountable and can't act this way. Can't act like you got to be better. You know, be better for the community or each other.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, I do enjoy sports. I do play basketball. That was my passion for many years. Volleyball, I've been playing. Still to this day, my knees are going. But
Yeah.
I enjoy sports because it's that competitiveness in me, and
Yeah.
that's always been one of my passions.
Cool.
Do you play on any local like league teams or anything
Yeah,
like that?
I did play in
semi-competitive
men's
or-
league. I did, semi-competitive. I did men's league. There was an opportunity to play in the Filipino league.
Oh, really?
There's more of a population of Filipinos that love basketball, and
Okay.
I've also enjoyed playing with them. JNE actually had a team a few years
I
ago.
was just gonna say, yeah.
and
I
it
remember
was-
Eddie
yeah.
Mendoza
Yeah.
mentioning something about it, about
So,
basketball nights or
yeah.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, and we.
Is this a men's
we-
team? Can I play too?
You can play anytime.
I honestly, I don't know if it's still going. At
I
this
don't know
point.
if
I
it's
think
going, but
COVID
we-
probably
Yeah.
We get
derailed that
started.
pretty
We
quickly.
had
It was started
jerseys. We
again.
had
Yeah.
Yeah. There's been talk about rebuilding a social club, so we'll.
That's a good
That is-
idea.
That is
Yeah.
a very good
That's a good idea,
It's
yeah.
actually- I think
Post-COVID, yeah.
we're missing that a little
Absolutely.
bit. That
Yeah.
camaraderie and that just getting out there, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be basketball. It can be anything. You know,
Yeah.
it can be baseball, volleyball, or not even sports. It can be lawn bowling.
Okay,
Right.
we're not that old yet. Come on.
Wow, I am from 56th Street, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm getting up there.
Just don't sit on darts. That might get a little dangerous.
Yeah. I won't play darts with some people here.
Yeah, no kidding. Awesome. All right. Well, I don't have anything else. Shalon, did you have anything else you'd like to ask of Saks or
I
anything
think I
else you'd
learned a
like to
lot today. That was
Yeah.
awesome. Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing all
Yeah,
that.
you're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope I get to see more people in JNE and get to know more about them and
Yeah.
learn more about them.
Well, that's why we're doing this. We're gonna get people in here, and we're
Exactly.
gonna pull it out of them, and we're
There
gonna
you go.
learn. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, we want to get those stories and we want to find out, what it is that makes us who we are, right?
Yeah.
JNE as an organization, in terms of what I've seen in my career, is a very unique and very welcoming place to work.
Yeah.
And it's, it's people like you in the leadership roles that you're in. It's people like Shalon in the role
Yes.
she's in.
Yes,
That's
definitely.
what makes the organization what it is, and that's what makes us as strong as we are, I think.
I believe that.
And we want the world to know that. We want all of our
Yeah.
customers and all of
Oh,
our
of course.
prospective partners to see why it is you should come work
Yeah.
with us, or why it
Yeah.
is that you should partner with us, right? There's a lot more to the company than just the logo and the name,
Oh,
right?
for sure. No,
Yeah.
it's definitely our people. I
Yeah.
mean, from the ground up. It's from the front office to the very guy in the very back 40 who's helping out. We're all important. We're all a team, and I'm grateful to have you guys around me. Your father, your mom, like starting this, and I was very grateful to have the opportunities that they've given me. I've learned so much here, and there's still more to learn.
Absolutely.
And it's just a welcoming place to be. Like when I come here, I always see your faces, and I just know we have had a bond, whether we have crossed paths and just a quick hello or a little joke here and there. It's just I get to know people, and
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I can tell, type of people you are, and it's always good.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for being, our first guinea pig
Guinea
here.
pig, yeah.
Our
No.
our first victim. Yeah, I know that.
Victim.
Our first victim on the People Who Power Us
Oh, here we go.
segment. So yeah, we appreciate your time here and your candidness, and
Oh, you're
Yeah.
welcome.
thank you so much.
It's great. Yeah.
Well, thank you once again, Saks.
Yeah.
And
Thank
thank
you.
you all for watching. All right, and we are back. Thank you all for tuning in and watching that lovely segment. That was a really remarkable story. I've watched that video a handful of times after having captured it and done the editing, and it's just amazing to, again, get that kind of perspective from one of our longest serving employees and see their story and find out what made them come here. You know, how did you end up where you did, and why do you stay? And I think Saks is a great example of someone that really embodies all the values that our organization stands for, and what we value as a team and as a work family. You know, that's definitely one way to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just so excited to learn more of our JNE people. That was so much fun. And
Yeah.
I so
Yeah.
look forward to the next one.
Oh,
Speaking
yeah.
of that, when is the next one? When are we doing it
Oh,
again?
you're putting me on the spot. I haven't actually scheduled the next one. I do believe we're going to try to get another one sorted out here in October. I'd like to try to do something before November and heading into year end stuff. I know people's schedules get a little crazy around there. So October, I'm going to put it out there right now. Everyone keep your eyes open for October. We're going to try to do this again and get another interview on the air so that everyone can meet more of our team and see more of our people.
Sounds good.
Awesome. All right. Well, that marks the end of our show. Thank you once again to our viewers and our listeners. And remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as our LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter accounts. You can see all of this again if you're so inclined. You can check out our previous episodes. You can also see a lot of pictures and project stories around some of the stuff that we've built over the last year and a bit. And stay tuned to those same channels, like we were just saying, to get updates around when we next go live and our next episode of the People Who Power Us segment. All right. Once again, this has been Shane Sutcliffe and Shawn Nowakowski for the JNE Welding Combined Strength and Podcast. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to seeing you again next time.
Have a great day.